If you can guess the locations of these 3 properties, I'll pay you $1 million. Not really, I'm just kidding. But I will pay you to stay at one of these locations. More on that in just a minute. I actually secretively blocked out these 3 flags of these 3 different locations, specifically just to entice you to play along with me. Hey, I'm Nathan Amaral. If you've never heard of me, I'll share a little bit more of that in just a second. But I wanted to show you proof that actually what I said is true. I have had many people come out to these properties and hang out with me, whether it's the mansion or the condo next to the beach, or even in the other location. I don't want to tell you exactly, but I've had members come out, hang out with me, learn, grow, and scale their businesses to 7 figures over the years. It's been a great time. So here's just a few, but you're probably thinking like, Nathan, what's the catch? Well, first of all, I'll reveal what the 3 locations are. So I want you to watch this until I show you the 3 locations. Also, I want you to listen to what the 3 C's are and then post them in the comments below. And number 3, you decide if this is right for you or not. So, and by the way, this doesn't cost anything. All right, next, I want to make sure that you know of our earnings disclaimer, because first of all, I did mention pay and I did mention stay. And then of course you see the name Fearless Millionaire and it might be implying that you can become a millionaire. So let me get this out of the way right now. We do not make any guarantees about your ability that you can earn money from these ideas, tools, or strategies. One of the things I always mention is you should always consult with your accountant, lawyer, or professional advisor before acting on any of this kind of information. This is strictly like for educational purposes, and maybe you'll learn something new, or maybe you'll just find this funny, and maybe you're just trying to figure out, well, what is Nathan, how is Nathan going to pay for where I'm going to stay? And before you go so far, I want to make sure that this is for you, okay? So, because someone might have shared this with you, or maybe you just found this randomly online, or maybe the algorithm shared it with you, but I want to make sure I make this clear about who this is for, why now is the best time to be involved in this industry, and what you need to do. So this entire video is going to be about 45 minutes. So right now I want to go over who exactly is this for, okay? And then I'll get into the other stuff of, me paying for you to stay at one of those locations and all that good stuff. But for right now, let's go into who this is for. And if you think this is for you, then stick around and you can maybe learn something and also maybe join us along the way. So first of all, this is specifically for coaches. Okay, specifically for coaches. Now, you see here, I have a whole list of them. I have anything from business coach, health coach, relationship coach, sports coach, executive coach, career, financial, leadership, performance, wellness, nutrition, fitness, mindset, sleep, stress, grief, divorce, retirement, and the list goes on and on. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just look at these for a minute, and maybe you can pick out like 1 or 2 or a few. I mean, just think about this. So I'm going to go deeper and elaborate on a few of these. So let's go into divorce coach. Let's say you've been divorced, maybe not once, maybe twice, or maybe just once is fine. If you have twice, then you got more experience, to put it that way. Let's say you've been through a divorce and it was a really roller coaster of an experience. And there's other people who struggle with divorce too, whether they should get divorced or stay together or not. And some people are out there looking for this kind of advice. Or how about this? How about ADHD? There's a lot of people out there with ADHD, and there's a lot of people who are struggling with children with ADHD, siblings, family members, whatever it is. How about environments? How about work environments with people with ADHD, right? So there's that. Then how about like a little business? How about a negotiation coach? Maybe you're really good at doing negotiations. Maybe you're really savvy on what to say, how to say it, and how to close a deal, and how to get what you want out of a deal so that everybody wins, right? So there's that. Then how about a little bit on the faith side? Let's jump over here with spiritual coach. Maybe you're in spiritual, or, maybe you're a pastor and you've built a church. And you've done it maybe multiple times with multiple branches. And there's other people, other pastors who want to learn how to do the same thing. Okay, you can also coach them. There's also parenting. If you have kids and you feel like your kids have done really well, or maybe you just have a knack for helping maybe the local parents in the community, and they're always asking you, how did you do that? How did you get fit? I feel like I'm, a parent of 4. I can feel like I'm the same place. I've been there. Or how about public speaking? I've done this. I'd actually paid coaches for public speaking coaches. So when I first got started in this industry, and I'm going to share that in just a minute, but when I first got started, I didn't know how to public speak. Actually, I was very shy. I was a very shy person, more behind the scenes, and didn't really talk to a lot of people. So public speaking wasn't my thing. But over the years, I ended up hiring multiple public speakers, not only online, and today you can use some apps, but actually face-to-face, direct, on-stage training, a bunch of that kind of stuff. So I'd actually paid coaches for that. And there's actually quite a few coaches that I've paid here that I can see. I've had an entrepreneurship coach. I've had a leadership coach before. I've paid fitness coaches. Oh, that's a huge niche right there. Fitness coaches, right? So let's say you've had a transformation in your fitness in your own life, and you have a way of helping other people do that. You can teach and coach other people how to get that done. Right? So if you're probably hearing this trend right now, if you have experience, if you have results that you've helped people with, then you can do that and help other people get similar results. Now, I want to share a little like behind the curtain here for a minute. I'm doing the same with you. I've actually helped many other people get results with coaching or coaching programs, whether they just started a coaching program. I remember some of my clients were in doubt of having a coaching program, whether they had one and they wanted to make it better. Some already had coaching programs for a few years, but wanted to tweak the numbers. They wanted to grow their numbers and scale, maybe go from 10% to 15% and so on. So I've also worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and experts, speakers, authors, coaches, trainers to help them grow into a coaching program and scale that. So if anything on this list sounds like it should be for you, or it could be for you, and I'm sure there's many more, then guess what? This might be something you want to stick around and listen to. And I want to show you one more. I'm sure it's on this list somewhere, but I want to show you the photo right here. Check it out. So this is one of my clients. His name is Richard. I have his photo right here in front of my desk. But Richard is a bass guitar trainer coach, okay? So he actually first launched a course, and now he has a coaching program. I'm sure on here I see voice coach, but how about music coach, right? So it could be very specific. And the reason why I bring Richard up is because Richard is specifically in music, but more on a deep dive there, and he's niched himself into bass guitar coach, right? So you can actually niche really down if you're really good at something. If you've been told that you've been good at something, if you've been paid for this skill, you can get paid extra for that skill. So I remember when I first started working with Richard, he was getting paid around $200 per gig. And then we slowly worked and rebranded him and got him to $1,000 per gig and international money too. And we got him traveling internationally as well, which is much higher paid gigs. But that was a process to get there. And sometimes it takes time. And sometimes whether you're thinking about being a coach or maybe you have skills that you could do coaching with, it's not immediately evident, like how would you go about doing that and how would you structure it and how would you put it together and how would you make money from it, really? Because sometimes a lot of people, like I think of a dating coach I worked with at one point, he was always giving great dating advice. And I said, man, you should turn this into something, like make this a business. And he said, no, I love doing it for free, man. I just love talking about it and doing it, but why not get paid at the same time while you're talking about it? And that's something maybe you have missed. If people around you tell you, oh, can you help me with this or that? And you say, I would, and they want to pay you. And you say, no, I would do this for free. I love it. Well, how about changing that around for maybe a second stream of income, some passive income coming in, or maybe make it even to a full-time income. And if that's something that's swirling around in your mind right now, again, this might be for you. Stick around. I'm going to show you how you can turn this into a 7-figure business. And let's go a little deeper, all right? So first, I got to tell you about who I am, all right? So who's this guy, Nathan? This guy who's trying to pay me to stay somewhere. So first, I got to take you back. And by now, if everything I've said so far is interesting to you and you're thinking about making some money out of your knowledge or skill, then stick along here to the end. So, Nathan, who am I? I've been in this business of the coaching industry, training world for over 20 years, but it didn't start out that way. So before I jump ahead, I got to tell you about the guy here in the picture. So that's me over 20 years ago. And I would wake up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning with my dad. My dad taught me work ethic, and he would go off to his business and I'd go off delivering newspapers. And I delivered newspapers for a number of hours on a bicycle. And then I would sit on the corner with a man named Richard, or Richie, as I used to call him. And Richie had a speech impediment, and he had some accident that happened to him, and he would just be on the corner. We'd talk about life and stuff. And I mean, it wasn't very intellectual conversations, but it was something I did to pass the time until a unique incident happened in my life that really changed the course of my life. And I went from working to delivering newspapers to something completely different, which I'm about to share with you. But there's always that moment in life where something drastically changes, or just that moment, maybe the moment of inspiration. And for me, it was this moment right here where it was my Toyota Corolla that I slid in. Well, I bumped a curb and slid into a pillar, and that slammed my head into the driver's windshield and spun the car around multiple times. That's what I remember most, is just the loud sound, my head hitting the windshield. I blacked out, the car spun around multiple times. And then the fire department were using, I don't know if you can see it here in the right there, you can see like the machine to cut open the passenger door. That's actually how they got me out of the car, was pulling me out of the passenger seat. And I remember like sitting off to the side and them telling me like, there's a reason why you're here. We can't believe you're alive. You're lucky to be here. There must be a reason you're alive. And I remember hearing those words all the way to the hospital as the ambulance took me all the way there. And some of the police officers have visited me, and the EMTs I just kept hearing the same words over and over again. Like, Nathan, there's a reason why you're here. There must be a reason on your life, because you should be dead right now. And that just hung around my mind for a long period of time. And it made me rethink about like these big questions in my life. Like, what's my purpose? And what am I doing here? Like, what am I really getting out of life? I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I'm just working this job of delivering newspapers. And then after that, I would just go to another job and then another job. I had a bunch of part-time jobs in the mix of school, by the way, but I had a bunch of part-time jobs just working over and over again. I wasn't working a 9 to 5. I was working probably, a 16-hour day or more, sometimes 18 hours. And I was constantly working. And what I realized is no matter how much I worked, there wasn't enough time in the day to make more money. The money would always run out at the end of the month. And it just wasn't satisfying. I wasn't really getting to the point of this idea of financial freedom or making more money. I always felt like I was broke. And this day changed my life because I said, well, I need to do something different. If I'm doing the same thing over and over again, I need to change it up before I die, right? This must be my second chance. So that's when I started going on this journey. And this is how it all started. I was trying to get a new job. I was trying to become a mortgage broker. And I remember going to the office store, and I went and I saw these magazines. And at the bottom of the magazine rack, I found these audiobooks that were on CD at the time. And I remember reading the title of the cover, and it said Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And I was like, Unlimited Power? Like, what's that about? And I turned it over, and the description on the back sounded so good, but the price sounded so bad. I remember $23. I'll never forget that price tag. I said, who's paying $23 for, this audio book? Like, I was getting music CDs at the time for either free or like $10. Like, why would I buy them? Why would I pay for all this money for a book? But listen, I bought the book. And when I was back at home, I didn't have another car yet. When I was back at home, I put in this CD into my Sony Walkman, and I would start listening to this CD over and over again. Well, shortly thereafter, I ended up getting another car, another beat up Toyota Corolla, and I started listening to that CD every day, every day. Again, as I was delivering newspapers, I would start listening to that CD every day in the morning. And it was started to slowly impact my life and change my mind. But it wasn't until one day I was standing again on the corner. No, I wasn't selling myself, but I was standing on the corner, and this gentleman, as he was a customer, but this time it was a little different. He always pulled up in his Mercedes Benz, and this time he must have felt prompted, and he said, "Hey, when are you going to get off this corner?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, yeah, when are you going to get rid of this job? You can do better than this. I was like, what? And at the time now, I was already like probably 19 years old, maybe 18, 19 years old. And I just remember those statements. I said, I don't know anything better. That's what he said. He's like, I don't know anything better. I don't know what else to do. I work all these jobs. What else can I do? And he said, I'll see you tomorrow. So the next day he comes by and he gets his newspaper and he says, listen, you don't need to be reading this newspaper. What you need to be reading is this. And he hands me a book, and that book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book literally changed the trajectory of my life. More on that later, but when he handed me that book and he said, you don't need to read the newspaper, I immediately realized that what I was consuming was not the right information. You know, this guy, this coach, this mentor who I would see pretty periodically, I'd see him almost weekly, and he was basically telling me what you're putting in is not good. You need to replace it with this. You need to get rid of the bad information, the negative news, and put in this positive news for positive income or positive cash. And slowly I started changing my life. I started listening to more audiobooks. I started reading different kinds of books about business, and I started taking action on what I was reading. I'm so grateful to this day that I was just gullible to believe everything I was reading at that time. I wasn't reading any romance or anything like that, but I was reading these good, solid business books, books on marketing, books on sales, and books on leadership. And those books, because I was just believing everything it said and then applying it, it had a major impact on my life. And now, if looking back, I could say that it's been 23 years and a lot has happened. Now, I'm just showing you some of these images. You may not recognize some of these people. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you have considered like being a coach or, you know, maybe an author, a speaker, a trainer, then some of these faces might seem familiar to you. But first, I want to tell you, it didn't just happen overnight. First of all, I was a student first. I was a reader. I was a course taker. I bought a bunch of courses. I hired a bunch of coaches. And then as I started applying those things into business, I started becoming the teacher and the trainer and the coach. And I started speaking around the country and around the world, these principles that I was learning and applying. And luckily they work, and it worked out, and it just started changing my life. And after I would speak on a stage, I'd have people coming up to me, Nathan, can you tell me this or tell me that? And how did you do this? And how did you do that? It was always how can I? And I noticed that there was like a deficit in the market. Like people didn't really know how to do this. And my heart actually went out to people because I realized they didn't have that experience when they were younger. Maybe this was their epiphany moment. They didn't have the accident like I did. They were coming up to me and saying, I never saw it that way. Like this has changed my life. I'm thinking differently. And it just brought me back to when I got into that car accident. I was thinking those same things, except, I was at a younger stage and it happened to me younger. So it started creating this burning desire in me to help other people, to help and share this message and these formulas and these strategies with other people, like people had shared it with me. People had previously shared it with me in books and trainings and coaching programs that I was in. And I just felt like I needed to pass it on and give it to other people. And that's what I did. But as I started doing that, I noticed something very interesting. And I actually have a marketing degree, but I noticed that the results were piling up so much that people started talking about me and referring me and recommending me. And then all of a sudden, that started like multiplying. And all of a sudden, I started being the one getting calls, phone calls like, Nathan, can you help me with my organization? Nathan, can you help me at my company? Can you help me? Can you help me? Nathan. And the cool thing is, I had people paying me up to 6 figures at a go just to get this kind of training. Guys, I've been paid all kinds of amounts. This is not about me at the moment, but I just want to share that I'm coming to you with that I've traveled the road and I have experience. I've been paid as little as $1,000 for coaching someone, and I've been paid over $100,000 for coaching someone. So I'm going to share with you in just a minute how you can do the same. But I want to let you know that all this was done without ads. There was no ads at the time. I mean, maybe it was just coming out, but this was a lot of referral marketing because I showed people and I got results for people who wanted and needed this skill or knowledge and processes. And I was able to implement that into their business in different capacities. And I'll show you how you can do the same. Well, first of all, I want to tell you about my buddy Zach, who really gave me this name, the Magic Maker. You're going to see it come up quite a bit. And that's really what it is. I don't want to sound like this pie in the sky, but the reality is, I'll never forget when my buddy Zach, we met in the industry at one of his events. It was actually his event, and he flew me out to come and listen to his presentation. So he gets on stage on day one, and I listen to his presentation, his opening and his pre-lunch presentations. And then we go for lunch, and I give him some feedback, and he says, hey man, I want to give you my coaching pitch, and I want you to work on it before I pitch it tomorrow from stage. And I said, okay, sure. So I take it that night, he sends it to me, and the rest of the day and that night I go look at it and I start reviewing it, and I'm like, this thing is horrible. We started fixing it, making some changes, and then I sent it to him early in the morning, and he said, all right, man, wow. He's like, this is great. This is amazing. He's like, it's like you did magic. What are you, the Magic Maker? And I'll never forget, like, behind the curtain, before he went up on stage, we were talking about it really quick. And he said, man, the way you did this and that. And he just kept talking about it. He said, I see how you put the pieces together. He's like, man, you're a magic maker. And I'll never forget. And he always, from then on, he always called me Magic Maker. And it just stuck with everybody in the industry and all that stuff. So when he gets on stage, he goes and pitches this new offer, and he pitches it with a new price. And he, by the way, he was just like a great student because he was willing, he was gullible and willing to learn and try something that his coach was trying to teach him at the time. And he went out and did it. And at the end of that pitch, by the end of the day of that pitch, because he pitched it at like around noon, at the end of the day when he did that presentation, he made about $480,000. I'm not kidding you, $480,000 in like a day. It was incredible. The whole event, he did right around $800,000. But in that second day, he made $480,000 just from changing the pitch. By the way, previously, that presentation wasn't that great. Wasn't making money from it. I think he only had like 2 customers. But with the tweaks that I made, and I put like, certain things together there for him, it changed his life. And it was a coaching program. And it was everything. So then what he did, he said, hey man, at the end of the day, he's like, hey man, we did 480. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. That's great. He's like, I'll never forget this. He's like poking me in the chest. Then he grabs me by the neck, like a choke hold. He just like grabs me. And by the way, I'm taller than him. So he just grabs me and holds me by the neck. And he's like, you're coming to my office next week. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. So he flew me out, and there you can see in that photo there, that's me in Zach's office. He flew me out there because then he had me build a sales team for him. I did some training with his guys. We launched that coaching program. We started selling it on webinars and over the phone, and this whole process, and we had to implement it. Well, listen, now Zach has paid me 6 figures or more, but he's made multiple 7 figures from all that implementation. And it's just been phenomenal that he was able to do that. And that's one story. And guys, I don't want to make this sound like too pie in the sky here when I start mentioning like 6 figures and 7 figures and millions and all that stuff. The reality, all that's true. And I'm about to show you how that's possible. And I'm going to break down the numbers here for you, but I just want to share this with you because it's a reality and it can be for you too if you're thinking about making money from your skill and your knowledge. Okay. So here's why now is really important. I think this should play in audio.
Experts say millions of roles involving repetitive tasks from clerical positions to logistics could vanish in the next decade.
All junior level jobs in any industry are at high risk.
But estimates of how many jobs will be affected vary widely. Goldman Sachs projects 300 million jobs could be exposed to automation over the next 10 years, with roughly 2/3 of current roles likely to be changed by the use of AI. And the World Economic Forum reckons that in 5 years' time, the proportion of work tasks performed mainly by machines will grow from just over 1/5 to more than 1/3. But what do we know about the impact that AI is already having in the workplace?
AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work at Salesforce now. And I think that will, continue.
Earlier this year, Microsoft announced 2 rounds of layoffs affecting up to 16,000 workers, partly driven by AI efficiencies. And Amazon's CEO recently warned that AI would see a reduction in that company's total headcount, although the firm is not yet laying off staff. But it's not all one-way traffic. If you ask ChatGPT about the AI impact on jobs, it predicts the technology will also create millions of new roles in data engineering and human AI collaboration. And that same World Economic Forum report predicts AI, robotics, and related technologies will add 170 million jobs by 2030. If that comes to pass, the world will have more total jobs in 5 years' time, not fewer.
Years ago when the internet was coming out, people got so scared. There was people like, people are not going to use the internet. It does nothing. I mean, what is the internet? And there was a lot of doubters. It is the same with AI, but yet the AI revolution is so much bigger than the internet. It's huge. If you haven't realized it yet, it's incredible. It's just beyond exactly what we can even fathom right now. We're going to see it bit by bit, day by day. It's going to take years before it actually hits the average business, the average population. Most people right now, they just use it maybe for doing documents and stuff like that. Kids are using it in schools and stuff like that. But let me tell you, there's so much more opportunity. And actually I think it was yesterday, I was just hearing about the statistics is that, a lot of people just hear about AI, about maybe 5% of businesses know about it and maybe think they should use it. But I'll tell you what, over 95% don't even know how to implement it into their business. That alone is an opportunity, right? So coaching businesses on how to implement AI is just a whole business in itself. And the good thing is it's ground level. It's open to anybody. So if you've never, we haven't had AI agents before. So if you are interested and want to figure out how to use it and then coach other people and businesses how to use it, hey man, you just created a whole new revenue stream because there's a lot of people that want it and it's going to be in demand. It's only going to increase over time with demand that people want to know those things. So this is why now it's so important, because in some way or fashion, AI unfortunately may replace your current job, or it's going to make it better. And as we're seeing time and time again, there's a lot of jobs being replaced where they need to skill up. And there's some jobs that are going to adapt and use AI. But also think about this. If you've been laid off, or maybe there's talks around the office about layoffs coming, how about the skills you already have? See, you may have gone to school for a particular thing, a degree in something, and you may not be in the job using that same degree, but that's okay. You actually have skills from that job that you can teach other people. And by the way, those people may not be in your backyard. They may be around the world. And in just a little bit, I'm going to share with you how this same type of business model has got me to live anywhere. I literally live and work off a laptop and a phone, and I've traveled to over 40 countries, and I've been and had a family. We've traveled multiple months and at a time, and it's an amazing lifestyle. But I want you to be able to break it down and simplify it to make it realistic. So let's keep going here. All right. So I want to share with you what the magic formula is and how to make $1 million with it. So imagine you sell a product for $200. Okay. You sell a $200 product to 5,000 people. That's going to get you to $1 million. Okay. You can sell another product for $500 to 2,000 people. That will get you to $1 million. Okay. You can also have a product, $1,000 product, and sell it to 1,000 people. That will get you. Then let's jump down to sell a $4,000 product to 250 people, and you get to $1,000. So which one sounds a little better when it comes to customer acquisition? The latter, right? The last one. Sell a $4,000 product to 250 people, right? Yeah. Okay, let's break it down to subscriptions. So if you had people paying a monthly subscription per se, like 5,000 people paying you $17 a month and 1,000 people paying you $83 a month, and then 250 people paying you $333 a month for 12 months, then you could also hit $1 million. So if you've never looked at these numbers like this before, if you break it down to the ridiculous, you break it down to really simplified numbers, you'll actually see that it's okay. That kind of might be attainable. It looks a little bit easier. When I first saw this, like over 20 years ago, I was like, oh my goodness, that's, and by the way, guys, I looked at this. You should wait until I show you the next slide. When I looked at this, I was like, oh man, I can sell a $200 product to 5,000 people. Of course. As my late mentor, Jim Rohn, used to say, of course. But let me tell you, I found it was very hard. I used to sell a product for $197, and I wasn't really good at this. And it took me like a year just to sell like 20 courses and at $197. But it wasn't until I hired a coach that told me how to structure the offer, raise my price to $497. I sold over 500 of those. And then I continued over time, but it was just sometimes a coach can give you some insight and learn how to do it. That's what coaching's all about, right? To help guide you and help you make changes and tweaks along the way. So now watch this one. This is how we get you to $1 million, right? So then what you have here is you have an offer for $2,000. You offer a product of $2,000 to 500 clients. That's going to get you to $1 million. Have an offer a $10,000 product to 1,000 clients, get $1 million. Okay. How about offer a $50,000 product or service to 20 clients and make $1 million, or have just 10 clients get to at $100,000 and you hit $1 million. So this is what I really want to show you. This in those photos I showed you before of all those different photos of all those different clients I've worked with, and many, many more, by the way. I mean, I could fill up a few slides of those. This was what so many people would hire me to help them do because it got you to $1 million faster, is really what it is. Now, it's not easy, okay, but it's simple to set up. Okay. It's not easy and it's not quick in the beginning. It does take time. That's why I always tell people is you should give yourself at least a year or two to get to that point, especially if you're coming from zero. But you know what? I found that over time, I'd explain this to people. I've shared it with them. And the biggest thing, this is the biggest thing that I always see with a lot of people is right here. Do you know what this is? This is fog. This is all the mental fog in their mind, and there's doubts and there's limiting beliefs. And the most important one, you see how I left that up there? I left the logo right up there. Fear. Fear is the biggest underlying thing why people can't see through the fog to reach more money. They're so confused, they're lost, they're trying all these different things. Maybe they have a website or they don't have a website yet. Should I have a website? Should I blog? Should I do videos? Should I do podcasts? Should I do emails? Whatever. They have all these things they're not sure about, and there's so many moving parts. And one of the things my clients have always liked about me, I'm a very simple guy, by the way, very simple guy. I like to look for the fastest things to cash flow. And that's what my clients loved about me, because sometimes I would cut out all the fog. I'd go into their office, like figuratively a bit. So I would go into their office and turn on a fan and all the fog would disappear. I should probably have an animation for that here for this slide, like all the fog just disappearing. And that's what I did to their organization. And when you clear out the fog, you get clarity. You're all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, and confidence starts building up. And that turns into money. And that's the beautiful thing. I want to share with you right now my 3 C's. In this format, the 3 C's, Write this down if you can. If not, you can come back to it later. But the 3 C's are clarity, confidence, and cash flow. These 3 C's bring you the freedom formula. It's what I've created this formula strategically to implement into someone's life and business to go to another level. And I want to share something with you because you're probably thinking like, Nathan, all those photos that you shared, those people already know how to make money and they're in business and they don't need clarity and they're fine. They're already making money. I want to share something with you. I remember one of my clients who hired me to not only help him with a book launch, which we did, but we also helped him with a course launch. It was his first home study course launch that he ever did. And I helped him with, maybe the copywriter and structure and all this stuff, right? So we did a launch and he made over $1 million in a weekend and it was crazy. He actually framed the course and he got the signature from my friend, the copywriter, and everybody. And he was ecstatic. He was ecstatic. And by the way, that course has made him multi millions of dollars over the years. But in his first launch and doing $1 million in a weekend, it was like 3 days, that changed his trajectory, right? So all that was like, wow, that clarity just built the confidence. Now, I want to tell you something that was really interesting to me because we created all the clarity. He had all this confidence now that his course was selling and cash flow was coming in. A few months later, he said, actually it was me. So I said to him, hey man, we need to take this to another level. It's time to grow. We got to go to, multiple 7 figures. And he said, all right, let's talk about it. So I'm there in his office. And by the way, I record every meeting. Well, back then I would record it for myself and I'd take notes. And today I record every meeting I have because I use AI to help me pull meeting notes and structure a formula and a plan for my clients. And it's amazing. It's so powerful. So I remember sitting in that meeting and we were talking about, the success of the launch a few months earlier. And then we were talking about coaching. And I said to him, you need to have a coaching program. You need to start coaching these people. Some people are not making it. Some people think they can do it with just a course, but then life gets in the way or they need some extra hand holding and they need a coach to help guide them and implement to the next steps. I know I've been there myself. Even my clients said, yeah, I've hired coaches to help me. Exactly. So sometimes you need a coach to be on the outside and guide you and hold you accountable and tell you what to do. So let me tell you what this client told me, which just blew my mind. Because after coming out of $1 million launch and then I think it made a bunch more money after that, it was a few months later, he tells me as we're sitting there in his office, he says, but do you think people would really buy my coaching? And I remember I just looked at him and I said, didn't you just have $1 million launch? Where did your confidence go? And it was in that moment that I realized that no matter how much money you make, fear, self-doubt, disbelief, limiting beliefs will always creep in. See, it's not, you can't get rid of fear. You actually can't become completely fearless. It's actually, you can only fear less by managing the fear through these 3 steps, these 3 C's. And that's first, you have to get clarity. And so I walked him through these steps. There's a pattern that I follow with my clients. And I walked him through and then he said, okay, Nathan, you've done this before. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it. So, well, listen, we did it and we did it big and we brought in sales teams and man, this thing went gangbusters. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Okay. I don't want to disclose numbers. I don't have the right to disclose numbers, but that's just one story and one client of millions and millions of dollars that were made. But it started from breaking through, getting clarity, building the confidence and getting the cash flow. So those are the 3 C's. And I want you to remember that because it's really important. And if you're struggling with any one of these, that's what I found, that the majority of people struggle with this, whether you're an author or whether you're already a coach, but not making a lot of, not getting a lot of clients and a lot of sales. Maybe you've been doing this for a while, but you want to grow bigger. And maybe you're a trainer and you want to get more gigs, whatever it may be. There's always one of these that's really not aligned well and it needs some improvement, needs some adjustment. And that's how we break through it. Once we correct it, then we really get to the freedom side of things, the freedom formula, as I like to call it. All right, so here's the next steps I want you to take, okay? If you've come this far and you've been this far, this is the next steps I want you to take. So first, you're going to join our free community for coaches. Okay, this is a place that we've recently created. It's new, it's not old, it's new, it's fresh. And guess what, guys? We're going to be adding stuff to it on a regular basis. So again, if you've come this far and you're interested in this, and even if you're new and you want to become a coach, maybe you're not a coach yet, maybe you don't have clients, but you're trying, you think, hey, this might be you, then it's okay. Join our free community for coaches and start going to the basic startup jumpstart program to kind of get you started. And of course, we can answer questions, and we have a whole community that we're building through there. Again, like I said, this is not a big community, so I don't want you to expect like 10,000 people. It's more private. It's more one-on-one. By the way, guys, just for clarity, I've always been a behind the scenes guy for many, many years. So you're not going to see a huge following for me. I really don't like that. I'm not all hype, smoke and mirrors, or having millions of followers. That's not really been my thing. I've been more of a producer director. And along the way, I've helped, small groups of people achieve great results. So that's really how I operate. Then once you get inside the community, you're going to start with the Magic Formula Guide. This is the guide I give all my clients, no matter if they pay me $10,000 or $100,000 or more. I give this to all my clients, and it helps create clarity right in the beginning. And it's really powerful. I call it the Magic Formula because it really starts cutting through the fog pretty quickly, and then we can assess that, and we go through it. We strategize around it, and it really does help. While you're in there, you can also get access to our resources for growing a coaching business. And again, we're going to be adding to that. We're going to be doing maybe I'll call it surprise, but we're going to have like office hours. You can ask any questions you want during that period of time. We're going to be growing this thing so that you can also grow your own business. And then fourthly, you need to make a decision, whether it's a yes or a no. No maybes. You need to say, you know what? This is for me. After you go through the resources, after you go through the Jumpstart course, you go through the Magic Formula. If you say, you know what, Nathan, this is for me. I want to take this to another level. I'm serious about this. Like, I really want to make this happen in my life. I want to change my life. I want to change my family's life. And I know here I'm giving you just like a brief overview. If we've never met or you've never seen any of my videos, you can go check it out on my YouTube channel. You can do this too, and there's so many other people doing it. If you make a decision to say like, this is it, then I want you to choose. I want you to choose one of these locations. So do you remember where we're at? Did you maybe take a guess at where these properties could be? Well, you can either, number one, come to the mansion meetup in the United States, or you can come to my condo down by the beach in Portugal, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We can hang out there. Or you can come over to Uganda, Africa. If you've never been to Africa, that's actually where I am right now. You can come out here, and I will, at whichever destination you choose, I will take care of the accommodation, whether it's at my mansion meetup or maybe it's just chilling at my condo, and I'll get you out. We'll go out there, and then we'll get some cool spaces by the beach. We'll hang out. We'll do some stuff, a little bit of trekking, sightseeing, that kind of stuff. Or if you come out here to Uganda and you like to go see the animals or nature, it's absolutely beautiful and stunning, then that may be for you too. However, notice on the screen it says terms and conditions apply. Yeah, listen, to be very clear with you, you cover your airfare, I'll cover the accommodation, like I said in the beginning. But the terms and conditions are that you have to make a decision if this is for you or not. You have to say, you know what, Nathan, I really want to do this. The numbers that you were talking about, I know with the inside me, I'm destined for greatness. I know I could be a coach and coach people. I have knowledge. I have skill. I know I can do this, right? Maybe you don't know how yet, or maybe you started. Maybe you've even started, but you're not getting the results you want. We can assess that, we can go through it, and then we can meet up and take it to a whole nother level. Just like I mentioned from the beginning, like some of these members here, you can see they've come out. The bottom video there, that's from Uganda. That's some of my members that came out just a few years ago. You can see us riding these motorcycles. They're called boda bodas. Then you can see Hernando and Dave Seymour and Eric. We've all different places. You get to choose the place and we'll hang out. So if you want to get started today, you're going to go to this website right here. You're going to go to fearless-millionaire.com/start. And right there, you just sign up for a free account, join the community, and start going through the steps. If you have any questions while you're in there, just ask away. All right. I hope this has been interesting to you, and looking forward to seeing you in the community if you're looking to get started. And don't forget to put those 3 C's down in the comment section. All right.